Alright, so first look of the day, basically just running through like some pseudo stock Grixis Shadow. Um, Yesterday we played through with some Underworld breaches. Today we're cutting the breaches for a little more interaction, some spell pierces in the main, bringing the Croxa back. In the sideboard, we've got a few extra counter spells, little Grave Hate that we didn't have yesterday, Fluster Storms over more spell pierces, and Turok back on the board. So we're gonna kind of do a little side by side comparison with yesterday's league. See how this one plays out. Yesterday our losses were to like blue red prowess and other one. Beat mono red, beat red green storm, beat creativity. Don't remember what our other loss was, but I'm pretty sure both of the losses were to like pretty aggressive decks where cards like Underworld Breach were really underwhelming because they're just a lot slower in nature. Didn't really have like the Underworld Breach quad bolt I win lines. More like Underworld Breach for a terminate. We did bolt someone out with Breach once, but that was once in 13 games. So love to play first. Good opener. See if our opponent keeps full 7. Looks like they do. Ragavan down. Go. See what we're up against. No idea. Stomping Ground, Mountain, and Holy Heat. It's a shadow. Not doing anything for me right here. Can't play it without finding another land, and if I'm drawing the shadow, I know I'm not drawing another land anyway, so it's a dead draw. Don't know if I'm going to end up needing both mana available, but it'll help a future shadow if I find another one. Just like red green delirium. We'll keep an expressive iteration. delirium after we cast it. Keep the black mana around in case I draw into a Thought Seize. Might want to cast that. Van. That. If I find a fetch land or something off of this iteration, I can just go like fetch Shock Shadow, hit for 6. Be a pretty good chunk of pressure. No land, but we do get to hit for 6. I'm assuming they're gonna have like a Nihil Spellbomb, Relic of Progenitus, something that they can get off Saga. If they're not Jund Saga, then they might not, but I feel like the odds are still reasonable. We want a Ledger Shredder here. Whether I want Shredder or not, we're getting it. We ditched the mountain, so we've got to fetch and shock to play the Shredder. Kevin, what's up? Hope you had an awesome holiday season. As expected, some way to take me off of Delirium. Third Unholy Heat. And the Dash Monkey. Okay. All right, what do we got? Unholy Heat, Bolt. I have to hit like Bolt Shadow or something. Guess that doesn't even do it though with the lantern and two dudes. Do I like Breach and Shadow? So we played a league with it yesterday, just to like try it out, see what it was like. Um, it was okay, I guess. Um, so part of my issue with it was outside of the fact that it's just like really mana intensive. Um, it requires like multiple other things to be working out in a specific way for it to be good. Like, okay, you have to have a full graveyard plus like something that you actually want to get back off of it. Uh, which if your opponent's playing like Urza's Saga, you're never gonna have a full graveyard because of like Soul Guide Lantern and stuff. Um, or the best it's gonna be is like play it, replay Bobble twice. Uh, I just think like I think it's the kind of card that when people look at it, they see the top end of like, oh, you got to Underworld Breach with double Channeler out and play like 7 baubles off of it, and that was fantastic. Or you got to Breach and like bolt your opponent out with quad bolt, and that was great. And it's like, yeah, those times are pretty cool. But you also have a lot of times that you've got a Breach with like 2 cards in your yard, so it does nothing. Or you've got a Breach, and the only things in your yard are like 2 creatures. And a couple lands, and you're like, all right, well, I can play a 4 mana creature. That's kind of whatever. Like, I think the middle ground of the card is a lot lower than people like want to assume it is. And Sexix, what's up? Opponent's got a turn 2 Ren here. Pretty bad for us, but Warp. Been a minute. Happy to see you streaming again. Well, on and off. Like, I'm still not enjoying Modern. Uh, and if we're like being completely candid, I don't really want to play a bunch of Magic. Like, I would rather be able to stream like a more variety, and I intend to do that in the future. But until I get like what I want to stream figured out, then this is like the fallback. But like, to me, for the past 6, 7 months, Magic has been extremely dull and like just nothing going on with it. Pretty boring. It's pretty repetitive. You got questions like, why is my opponent naming Mishra's Bauble in their Mishra's Bauble deck with their Pithing Needle? fair. You stream your rules. Kind of excited to see what variety you do. Yeah, like I. What's the best way to kind of describe it? Like I've never felt like my stream was, oh, you have to do this. So it's not a situation where like I don't think I could try to stream other things and be okay. Um so I'm not like worried about going and playing something besides Magic and just like making it a chill hangout stream. If I was like super invested in making a living off of streaming Magic, then it would be completely different. But you're not at that point. How do you feel about Marvel Snap? Um, so I like the game. I think it's got like a really simple rule set and play design, which is really nice. The thing that I don't like about it is like how much you have to invest and level up just to be able to like play with the cards that the game is printed. Like you have to get to such an absurd collection level just to really start unlocking everything. And so for the first like few hundred collection levels, which is a pretty substantial amount, you're just like, oh, I don't get to play with any of the cards I want to, or I have to play this deck suboptimally because I'm just like hoping that I unlock the cards I need to finish it. And I'm not a big fan of that aspect of it. Like if they had a way to craft specific cards, which I think they're like introducing or may have already introduced, um, then I think that would make that game significantly better. So it sounds like Marvel Snap has a better economy than Arena. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on with Snap that's cool to see, like different, unique. But there's also a lot of stuff with the game that's like, this is kind of meh. But like I said, I do like that the rule set is simple. The game's like interactive, easy to follow along with. All right, what are we doing here? Fetch shock to 10. Push the channeler. Go to 5 off the construct. Virtual 3 off the spell bomb. Otherwise, I could fetch shock, push the construct, go to 7 off the channeler. Probably better. I don't even have to go to 7. I can just go to 9, right? For the Saga channeler. If they want to get rid of them. Got a lot of blue in hand. My best draws are red cards. All right. We double spelling here. Two cards in hand. And I'm probably just like Shredder pass. Don't have a way to save the Shredder. Surprised I've seen this card as much as I have. Like, I guess in a deck like this, it's just, oh, you can go get it off Urza Saga pretty easily, but still kind of whatever. All right. Love to find like a shadow. Almost a shadow. By almost a shadow, I mean nowhere near a shadow. I think I'm just gonna risk them. Like, Spell Pierce isn't doing a ton for me. Crew up Hearse if they go to like I write my channeler or something. Little unfortunate. Respond to this by crewing our hearse. Hey Drew, what's up? You're going to eat their own channeler. Take their channeler off of Delirium. You don't have to attack. So, what are we exiling? Get 2 artifacts out of their yard. Then 2 more next turn, but they could pop Spell Bomb at any time. Get rid of enchantment out of our yard. And just a land. You're right. Desk does have Unearth. But at least they got to spend 3 of their 4 mana to do that. That was probably the better hit. I'll learn these new cards. Sage you my hers. They could Pyrite, shoot the Ragavan. This would be a good time for an expressive iteration off the top. Iteration. Almost. Almost. Make me assume that whatever they drew first was dead. Probably another land. On expressive iteration. 4 of you still in the deck. Okay. That Ragavan. Why are they eating their own yard at sorcery speed? They ate my yard, right? They ate mine. Why sorcery speed? I have no idea, but Sometimes you just have to nod and agree. Calling a Veil. Do they run Veil of Summer? Assume they do. I assume every green deck in existence runs Veil nowadays. So that's probably a safe bet. See if this works before we do anything else. Ah. In fact, not a Veil. Like double bolt me. Watch this expressive iteration. They are double bolting my Shredder. Okay. Bobble again. Take your channeler off Delirium. Alright. Expressive iteration. Expressive iteration. That do anything for me? They know about it. Oh, they haven't sacked their Bobble? Not sacked their Bobble. Alright, we're going for the high roll. The high roll is we double block, kill this Goyf, drown this Goyf, and find something. Find something like, I don't know, an expressive iteration. We have 4 in the deck and we've not seen one yet. Throwing ideas out there. Also can't figure out why they're not cracking this Bobble. Like, what are you saving Bobble for? Wind does nothing. Went through half our deck. Didn't see an expressive iteration. I want to see my card. That's been my issue with this, with Grixis for a minute. Is I feel like I see a ton of uh like ledger shredders and channelers and just like no payoffs. Like there were a bunch of turns there where a shadow would have been good. A bunch more turns where an expressive iteration would have been fantastic. Centania. 4 lands on the draw with a Ragavan. Like one of those hands I feel I have to keep because I guarantee if I mold a 6, it's going to be just like some abysmal, unkeepable 6. Ah, yes. The 5th land. That's what I was looking for. Just gonna draw go. Ragavan right now is my only threat, so I really don't want to like throw it out there and have it killed on the spot. Animator. Okay. Got it. Got a burial rites in the yard. We've got an unmarked grave. Our hero would like to find a Thoughtseize. I see. More lands and a drown. Burial rites. Thankfully, you were leaving full 5 cards in the yard. Got another drown and lock off the top. Okay. Aggressive iteration. Touch. Do anything with that? Technically we can kill that. Probably should have done it with the draw trigger on the stack. So that if they did have or they wouldn't have the chance to draw into like an ephemerate if they didn't have one in hand already. Iteration. Thank you. Even better. So let's go round to hand. Delta to the bottom. Channeler to exile. Play our channelers. Go. Not. Another drown, another iteration, please. Oh, I can evoke it from exile. I don't know why I thought evoke was only from your hand. Okay. They're gonna put like the Mole Drifter or the Solitude back on top. Yep. Okay. Start with a Thought Seize. What you got going on? Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they can Archon next turn. If that's the case, I would like to look for another drown. Not a drown. You're not a drown. On drown. Not a drown, but I guess we have to take a terminate. terminating on my turn versus their turn doesn't matter. So I want to go terminate to hand, Roxa to exile, and get this Croxa trigger in. So I hit them for 3, down to 8. Croxa down to 5. They put Archon on top. Alright, so now I can't do that because a Mole Drifter attack would kill me with the Archon. I have to terminate the Mole Drifter. Shadow does nothing. Does nothing. Really thought they were going to block one of those channelers. Okay. Take the 3 and go to 3, or do you... Alright, so I know they drew the Solitude. For expressive iteration. Found the Ephemerate? No. Hard cast a Solitude. They get a Solitude their own Archon. R. Alright. Need a little more action in there. That's kind of what I feel like happens a lot with these shadow decks, is you've got a lot of these like value pieces like things that want to gain a little bit of value as they go on or as the match goes on, but give your opponent a lot of extra turns. That part I'm not a huge fan of. I see the gen list that 5-0'd. Saw it posted on Reddit. Uh, I was looking at a couple Jun lists earlier. Was it like the Kiln Fiend one, or was it the what's it called? The Become Immense one. Jun, no Tarmos with Scourges, Eugenic Growth. I probably saw it. I'm thinking I probably did. Solitude, Ephemerate. Okay. Yeah, you can post the link. Did a couple of draws there. I'll land first in case they do just like try to evoke Solitude and Ephemerate it. All right. See what we got here. Baubles, Chandlers, Swift Spears, Scourge, Shadow. Yeah, that's one of the Become Immense lists. Or Reckless Impulse. 2 Thoughtseize is really weird. I didn't even notice the 4 Monkey in the sideboard. Oh, man, that's all over the place. 2 more Thoughtseize and 2 Chalice of the Void. Like, I get for the Cascade decks, but man, that is that's the kind of list that you're 1000% expecting to see a very specific meta, and if you don't, it's terrible. Like, hey, I'm gonna see exactly these 4 decks, and if I see anything else, like I am screwed. They shock in. They shock in the other watery grave. Just to try to make me think about Tainted Indulgence, or do they have a counter? But yeah, what I mean is like that kind of shadow deck is saying if you're playing Solitude, like I'm fucked. I can't do anything. You win. You're not playing Solitude. Maybe I've got a chance. So I'm gonna bobble myself here because I want to up my chances of hitting. I was gonna say a counter spell of some sort, uh, like Flusterstorm, Spell Pierce. Mystical Dispute's a lot worse out of the options. Just Mole Drifter, sure. Upkeep Fetch and Shock so we don't have to tap off of Mystical Dispute. What did I say about the list? Twitch had some problems. Basically just said that like the list can't beat a Solitude deck, which isn't like the fault of the list. It's just, hey, you play a list like that because you're expecting to not play against Solitude. And if you do play against Solitude, then it's, well, shit. But yeah, all I was saying is like that kind of list, the all in doing this one thing list is very much like, hey, if I do the thing, this is great. If you do anything to stop me from doing the thing, like, it sucks. Um, can I lose if I don't channeler here? If I just pass and hold up Flusterstorm Mystical Dispute? Yes. They can just like persist Solitude, and I'm not in a great spot. I don't know why Reckless Impulse isn't prowess better at that point. You mean to just doing like the one trick I'm gonna kill you thing? Uh, prowess is better in a lot of matchups. Like prowess is better in the interactive matchups than like a mutagenic growth become immense shadow deck is. But in the uninteractive matchups, this deck goldfishes a lot better. because you just get access to like battle rage and become immense and mutagenic growth and stuff, and you can just like pretty consistently kill turn 3, 4, regardless of what your opponent's doing. But as soon as they start throwing in any sort of interaction, then prowess gets substantially better. You have the ability to like burn out your opponent with bolts and lava darts and stuff, or if you're on blue red prowess, you get access to some amount of counter magic interaction. Fist Solitude. Like I'm always a proponent when it comes to lists like this, especially if you're cutting Tarmogoyf. I don't think Become Immense is a good enough reason to be green. I also don't know why you have 4 Force of Vigor when 3 Become Immense, 4 Mutagenic. Like those are your only green cards, but whatever. I don't know the math on that. But I don't think Become Immense is a good enough reason to go green. I would rather see like just cut the green and have access to Blood Moon. But that's like personal opinions. Not really a huge. More solitudes. All right. Can't really do much to beat just like a whole slew of solitudes. Oh, and they have the ephemerate. Get out of here. Double ephemerate, double solitude, double persist, double tainted indulgence. I'm actually gonna add Gigantha and pass. They put what's the name back on top? Mole Drifter. So I can mystical dispute the Mole Drifter. But I'm trying to get them to attack here so that I can like dash Ragavan on the way back. If I just play out Ragavan, then they probably don't attack. I also don't know why they would evoke there instead of just hard casting it. Like, is there really anything you're trying aggressively to draw into at 2 mana there? Like a persist to persist back the Mole Drifter, I guess would be okay, but really narrow hit with 2 copies and 40 cards. Guess I could have Leyline Binding the Solitude there. Draw. anything that kind of breaks parity here is a good draw. Am I attacking Ragavan into this? No. Adds an extra turn to the clock, right? Attack Ragavan for 2 plus Channeler. No, doesn't add an extra turn if I attack with both. Well, they would gain 2, go to 10, take 3, go to 7. Yeah, it would. That would be 3 more hits, and this is 2 more. Yeah. Math is tough. Seize and 3rd Ephemerate. Do they know about this spell pierce? Okay. Duration? A reindeer. I 100% believe Giganta is like the most overrated companion. And I guess what I mean by that is like, I don't think you should ever take good cards out of your deck to play Giganta. Yeah, we play it because it's free, but if you're playing like Battle Rage, and I like always play Dismember in your Battle Rage deck, and I wouldn't take out Dismember for Giganta if you're running Battle Rage. They find another solid, or did they put a Solitude back? Justice, justice, she is served. Out of here. Yeah. which cards are we missing for it? So the popular ones would be like Dismember, Street Wraith. I really like Seasoned Pyromancer. And anytime I'm like not playing Giganta, I'll usually try to find room for Spyro. Liliana the Veil. Um, see people now and then play Liliana the Last Hope. Murktide Regent, if you're a big Murktide fanboy. Am I forgetting? Dolphy, Necromentia, Grief, those sorts of things. Play Street Wraith in case Giganta companions will be banned. I would, yeah. Like, if they banned all companions, I'd be back on Street Wraith in a heartbeat. Um, because I think Street Wraith isn't enough of a reason to not play Giganta when the rest of the deck is kind of catered around like not wanting Street Wraith. Um, but if like Giganta was gone and Street Wraith was just like a free inclusion back into the deck, I would play it. That makes sense. If I look at the lists that are around right now, I don't see that many flex spots. So the beauty of something like Street Wraith in your deck is that like anything that's a 4 of can become a 3 of because you're just improving the consistency with Street Wraith. All right, Drown's a really good card to pick up here. But it also comes down to like Street Wraith is more of a Death Shadow card, like Death Shadow, Temur Battle Rage, fill up the graveyard for Gurmag Angler or whatever. Um, okay with like Dragon's Rage Channeler, but it's not really like a Ragavan Ledger Shredder card. I think I'm just letting them resolve this. Mainly because I don't want to get into a situation where like I tap off of or I cast Dress Down and they get to respond with like evoking a Solitude or something because I know they have an Ephemerate. Justice prevails. Oh yeah. Let's see. I think we could keep Ragavan, but maybe Shredder could not fit anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think Ragavan's fine. Um, Fine to keep with it, but Shredder doesn't really play that well with like Temur Battle Rage, and if you're playing Street Wraith, there's really not much of a reason to like not play Temur Battle Rage. For example, why can't we play TBR on this kind of list? So for this kind of list, the reason you don't play TBR is you've only got these that pair with it, and like occasionally Croxa, but that's not really like a reliable threat. But Ledger Shredder takes a lot of work to get Ferocious on. Same thing. Channeler can't be Ferocious. Ragavan can't be Ferocious. So there's just not really a reason to play Temur Battle Rage just to try to combo with these. But if you didn't have Gigantha, you had Street Wraith in here, and you had a secondary threat over like Shredder or over Channeler or something, that's when Battle Rage really starts to like shine. Like you just don't want to see Battle Rage without a ferocious threat, so you need a reasonable consistency of ferocious threats. Um, which I was really hyped for a bit, thinking that Talarian Terror could be the secondary threat, but it's another one that uh, consistency, getting it online is difficult. You think Angler could be our threat again? Not unless they came out and banned a whole bunch of Modern Horizons 2 cards. Like, it's not only Unholy Heat, it's Heat and Solitude and Leyline Binding, Teferi Time Reveler, like all these cards that weren't relevant the last time Gurmag Angler was like a solid number 2. It's like that list you shared, the Jund list. If you just took this and like replaced Scourge with Gurmag Angler, that's like old school Grixis, and it's the same thing where as soon as you start running into like Solitude decks, shit hits the fan. When I say Solitude, really I mean like Solitude, Path to Exile, uh, Leyline Binding, like any deck that has interaction for 1 mana or less that deals with like Gurmagging. Doesn't have to be exactly Solitude. Fact is, we don't have a reliable second threat in Grixis. That is the fact to a T. Like, I've played a bit of Grixis with like Seasoned Pyromancer, and I really liked that because I felt like that gave a secondary threat that we really didn't have access to otherwise. Am I just taking creativity, knowing that he's going to be able to snipe this Ledger Shredder? Take Bolt and keep my Shredder alive. Gund always helped with Tarmogoyf. Right, like Tarmogoyf was just a consistent 2 mana threat that you could get down regardless of what was going on. Didn't take a bunch of setup. Didn't have to do anything crazy to get it online. All you had to do was cast a Thought Seize on one, and all of a sudden Tarmogoyf's fantastic. Like in a perfect world, you could play 4-color shadow, either Grixis with green, Jund with blue, whatever your choice or color choice was, and you could make it work with good mana. Like the 4-color decks you see all the time are able to function because they have like all the triomes and they can get their mana online pretty easily whenever they want it. But the difference between them and like Death Shadow is Death Shadow wants all of their mana online turn 1 or 2, like all of your colors available, because you might not see that third land. And that really makes it awkward because you just can't get everything online fast enough. Um, How is it possible that with all the power creep we got, there's not a black or blue creature we can play consistently? Because they were too busy printing like bomb payoffs and white removal. Like you would think there would be just like a good creature that fit the bill. Uh, I think for a while, the thing I wanted most was like a blue and a black for a 4/3 that when it entered, what was it like? Enter, discard a card. Or no, I remember what it was. It was I wanted a 2 mana, 1 blue, 1 black for a 4/3. When it entered, you could either you had to or you could return a land to your hand, like a land from the battlefield to your hand. So I could pick up a shock land, shock it back in. It would be a 4/3, but it would need to have like hex proof or something. Seems too much. See, that's like the funny part about it. Like a 4/3 that makes you return a land seems like it should be a reasonable enough drawback. I will not cast that yet. 2 mana 4/3 is already good. It is, but like, is it 2 mana 4/3? No trample, no anything that makes you return a land better than some of like the 2 mana creatures that we have out there now. Vexing Devil disagrees. Oh, Vexing Devil. I think I'm piercing this. I know I've got another pierce coming on top. A drawback makes more sense as a blue-green creature than a blue-black, also the size as well. It does, but I wanted something that could be played in Grixis Shadow without needing the red mana. You didn't really want to get the red till later. It played along with like the double watery grave early. But I mean, black has had plenty of like oversized creatures in its time. Like we just had a 4/3 get printed for 2 mana in black. Something Wanderer. I want to say, yeah, Grim Wanderer. One in a black for a 5/3 with flash. You can only cast it if something died. Like, I want something smaller than that. In line, why don't they print a playable 2-drop white creature first? I mean, to go along with like the Thalias and the Stoneforge Mystics, the Sanctifier on Vex, the Pure Steel Paladins. I'm missing here the Hushbringers and Dranith Magistrates. We won't really count those. Those are whatever. That's Prismari command looking all funky in the graveyard. All those cards you listed are either A, sideboard material, or B, printed 10 plus years ago. Oh, you mean like Death Shadow? Printed 10 plus years ago? Gotta make do with what you got. Like, I'm just wanting this terrible on rate vanilla creature. You have Ragavan, Shredder, and DRC. Yeah, but those aren't like good. Ragavan's good. Still playing with Goifs and Bobs. I play with Goifs and Bobs all the time. Literally over here playing with Goifs and Lilianas and K commands. Still running Inquisitions and Lightning Bolts like a madman. Still got Traverse and sometimes. Look, how many decks are you running right now with Thrun the fucking last troll? Where are we drawing this line? You show me an Abzan list that has to run Thrun the last troll and we'll talk about it. Don't see Huntmaster of the Fells. Well, Huntmaster of the Fells gains life, so it's not great with your shadow deck. All right. Fine. But Thrun the last troll, go up against some white players and they cry in the face of Thrun. You go Thrun the last troll and they go, what does that do? And you're like, what doesn't that do? Run the MF Last Troll. Trolling blue player since 2014. Mirrored and Besieged. When was Mirrored and Besieged? Like 2012, maybe? We want Thrumbit as a 2-drop? Yes. That's it. No, it's got to have 4 power. I need to be able to battle rage it. Like, you can take off the regenerate line. You can take off the can't be countered. Just like 2 mana, 4/2 with hexproof. Give me that. I would be ecstatic. One in a black, 2 mana, 4/2 with hexproof. You can add in the blue and make it like 4/3 instead. Watch, it'll be green white instead. Probably. Oh man. I guess on the bright side, we're like a Ragavan away from an EE on 4. Based on recent printings, it'll be blue red. Based on recent printings, it'll be 1 in a white, 6/6 vigilance, first strike, lifelink, trample with hexproof. And when it enters the battlefield, you scry 17. That's recent printings. I really want to find a spell pierce. If they have like a Ren and 6 on their turn, I can knock it down a peg. Or I guess the wizard's approach would be like 1 and a blue, red, white, green hybrid. Play 1 of any of those 4. And it's a 4/4 with lifelink. Enters and draws 3 cards. But you can only pay 1 of any of those colors if you have like the basic land types of all of those out. Probably really noob to say this, but could Sprite Dragon be reasonable in our gameplay? It's not a noob question at all. There have been shadow lists that have played Sprite Dragon before, like when Luris was around. I don't know how well they did, but I want Channeler. No, I want Drown in the Land. White, blue. Ace flying paired with discard spells and bobble. Yeah, like The downside for Sprite Dragon was always like it's 2 mana for a 1/1 that you've got to start like doubling up spells with, uh, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that part of it. Uh, it's just never gonna be like a low investment card like Shadow and Gurmag or whatever are, where you just like pay the cost one time and then you don't have to worry about it, like set it and forget it. But the card's fine. Like, if you're really wanting to play just like a more aggressive Shadow build, then Bright Dragon's not the worst. Works well with like mutagenic growth and stuff like that. I don't know why they printed this card. Leyline Binding to me is just like such egregious design. Just can't come up with a reason to be like, yeah, this is a card that needs to be in Magic. 1 mana flash enchantment that just hits anything. And the downside is you have to play some of these triomes that everybody's playing already. And probably just better to play Prowess. You mean if you wanted to play Ledger Shredder? I mean, like, it pairs extraordinarily well with, like, Lava Dart and Mutagenic Growth and stuff like that, which are all definitely Prowess kind of cards. Um, I'm just going to go ahead and get this Gigantha down. Correctly. Always look around to see if there's something worth trying. I try to look around more than I can possibly express because I always feel like there's just something I'm missing over that would fit the bill. And it's just like time and time again, everything is just off. Like you can make and this is why I come back to like the 4 color should be the answer. But the mana is just like not good enough for an aggressive 4 color deck. But you can pick bits and pieces of different decks that would be phenomenal, like different shadow variations that would be phenomenal at beating just about everything. But getting them together is a whole different issue. Like you could say, oh, I want Shadow and Tarmogoyf is like my base threats, and that's a good solid start. But then I want Battle Rage to be able to fight through a lot of these unfair matchups. Well, then I need blue for protection. So now I'm in 4 color. All right, well, now I need uh, white to help answer a lot of these problematic permanents. So now I'm in 5 color. And if you could make an aggressive 5 color shadow deck, like that would be great, but can't really do that aggressive when you're relying on like triomes and stuff. Going for the old block bolt. Got it. Gigantha is no more. Now you're up to 6 cards in your yard, so I can drown in the lock a Leyline Binding. I think they probably should have said, like, as soon as they saw Shadow, we're just off of, like, the Bolt Gigantha plan, and we're going to try to top deck a Bolt to shoot you in the face. I'm going to try to fight over this Dwarf token. Try to fight over. It did a lot faster than I thought it would. Alright, so if they've got a whole bunch of ley lines coming in, maybe I want to go back towards Ragavan a little bit. That far towards Ragavan. Okay. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So we'll just drop the shadow. Usually if I'm on a mulligan and like I don't have the means of getting shadow online in my hand, it's probably gonna be the discard most of the time. Not always, but reasonable amount of the time. Because like I don't really want to draw a 4th land. And if the 4th land or like a Thoughtseize is the only way that I'm getting shadow online, then kind of narrow. It's different if I'm playing like a Jund version or something and I've got like Street Wraiths and Dismembers and all that stuff. But in like this Grixis version, I know I feel like I've said it more times than I can count that you're like not a shadow deck. You're a Grixis mid-range deck that happens to have shadows. So plenty of times where you just like don't have to play into that I'm a shadow deck idea. Got it. Shredder is no mo. Fresh Kale, how come you aren't playing Breach? We played Breach yesterday. So we're trying, like, we played Breach yesterday. We're trying non-Breach today. I just don't believe like there's a huge reason to like force yourself to only play one variation. I think it makes for pretty dull content if people come and they see like the exact same build over and over again. That's about the best reason. But I think Breach is like the hotness of the day. I don't know if I would say it's like the de facto best way to build Grixis Shadow right now, but I get that people are like hyped around it right now because it's spicy. People like spicy. All right. Anyways, this goes poorly. Gotta try to fight over Teferi. I think they're playing around Spell Pierce, but they could have a Spell Pierce of their own. Dogfish, what's up? Think I would rather iteration here. I'd like to find like a Thought Seize or another Drown in the Lock, something like that. Playing the same list or running out of mic list. This is just like a pretty generic non-breach list. Nothing really fancy about it. But it's not the same list as yesterday. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay. Feel like I'm gonna have to end up terminating this token. Really don't want to, but farther we get along, like the farther hard casting an Archon becomes something that I'm not really equipped to deal with. I can like deal with the first one, but they start discarding multiples. I'm kind of so well. Wouldn't have blown that up if they didn't attack. Kind of let me wait a little bit longer and see. Because this is like creativity plus spell pierce, which is kind of what it feels like. Yeah, so go. Sure, they think that I've got spell pierce of my own. Oh, really want to give them 2 life. Like, I think their last card is spell pierce, or at least they've played in a way that would make me assume that it's spell pierce. I really don't want to trade a Thoughtseize for a pierce. And 6. Give me the pierce. Right. Hoping to just draw into some piece of interaction. Drown in the lock. Something. Like, I could have cast the Terminate first, but like with this Rin, I'm pretty sure the game's like over. Not really equipped to deal with Resolve Planeswalkers very well. I mean, if he breaks for a few turns here, then we've got a shot. Drawing like a lightning bolt. It's like a lightning bolt to me. Let's see. Go back and watch that one. Full hand on the play. Like, I'm that Grixis Shadow purist in the sense that, like, whenever I play against a deck that's all or mostly non-creature spells, I can't imagine like losing that matchup. I'm used to Shadow, Gurmag, Stubborn Denial, Snapcaster, whatever. Like land first, so that if they go to like fetch, shock, try to shoot my Ragavan, I can maybe drown if I want to save it. He was having good success with Rakdos Shadow in the meta before he took a mini break from Rhinos. Yeah, like Rakdos is okay, but usually Rakdos is okay because of Blood Moon, and that's about its only saving grace. I mean, it's fine. Let's go. Other Shredder. Oh, you. Just this Unholy Heat. Because I can always be proactive with the bolt and just like throw it at the face. But Unholy Heat, there's not a guarantee that I'll have something I can hit. Search for tomorrow. Okay, so Escape Shift. Not on my radar. Steven. A world in which I'm casting that. I think so. I'm just going Shredder pass. Up drown. If they cast a Steve here, I'm probably countering it. for that as well. Seven, eight, nine, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are we going for it? No. I guess that shuts off fetches. They necessarily need fetches to kill me. All right. 4 mana here. 5 mana for turn. If they have like a Dryad, go up to 6. Fetch 2 Valakut triggers. You have Valakut fetch land. Ooh. Scare me there. If I thought about Valakut fetch land, I could have just like played the shadow, let it die, cast the bolt, and not shock down to 12. I guess it could have like a any ramp spell actually. Steve kills me. Does not kill me. Weird game. Have a lot to bring in. Another one of those matchups that used to be a buy. Now you have to think a little bit. Instead of hitting them for 5, 5, 10, you're hitting them for 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Pretty bad one. I think I can do better. This is like turn 1 nothing, turn 2 shredder bobble. Like all I really need is like 3 fetches, Thoughtseize Shadow. Or that's a bit better because we get like actual 1-drops. What am I throwing away? I'm just ditching Ragavan Croxa. I'm a little concerned that they're just going to go like turn 2 Steve and Ragavan's going to get stonewalled. Or turn 1 Arboreal Grazer or something. Like Shredder, Bobble, Ditch, Croaks on turn 2's really, really good. Like this. Be a good 7. Alas, we're not on a 7. What we got? Show me the Steve so I feel rewarded for my decision. Steve. Might just be sitting on a bunch of Veil of Summers. If that's the case, probably just want to ditch this Thoughtseize, get Delirium online for Channeler. Bro Shredder, get Delirium. That. Turn 2 Delirium does usually feel pretty good. Fish for a Tormod's Crypt. So that's fine. Don't know if I agree with going ahead and sacking it. Alright. See if we can refill delirium here. That's going to go in the yard. We'll bobble ourselves, see if it's something that we want to ditch to get delirium. If it is, then we go ahead and play the Ragavan, trigger the Ledger Shredder, flip over it, discard it. If it's not, then we can play out the Scalding Tarn, fetch, and give a whole new look for the Shredder. But since Shadow gives us delirium, go ahead and get that down. Shock, and we are right back on our merry little way. That's why you don't crack your Tormod's crypts too early. There's not really a big benefit to cracking it right away. Like, I don't think there's anything I can really have that can't respond to. Two and two. Let's feed the kids. A little back from this league. Working on feeding mine right now. The actual ones or the metaphorical ones? Could apply to any of the above. The actual ones. Yes, they need feeding from time to time. What do we got? Alright, hope you're playing creatures. If you're not, this hand is terrible. Let's see. Maple balsamic salmon, mashed taters, and garlic mushrooms with some asparagus. That sounds pretty ballin'. I'm probably gonna end up ordering a pizza and it's gonna be way less exciting. What? Playing Stomping Ground Pass. We see back-to-back Scape Shift. I'm gonna cry. Especially with this hand. Rhinos is my initial guess. kind of pizzas on the dinner plate for Mike. Probably like some Domino's. I think they got like a Wisconsin 6 cheese or something. It's pretty S tier. Playing. Terrified to play out this Ragavan into just like a fire and ice. But I got nothing else going on. 6 cheese, any veg or meat, or just a cheese mountain? Just a cheese mountain. Like, I'll die on the hill that if a pizza place makes a good like just cheese pizza, that's what I want. Like that's ooh. All right. So they are rhinos. I think I'm gonna try to fight over this one. If they've got a force negation, they got a force. Really hoping I can set up them just like tapping out on their turn for another rhinos, and I got like fatal push and terminate or something. That was worst case scenario. It may just be me, but I always feel like when I play against decks like this, that there's just so many times that they shouldn't have more cards, and they do. Like they still got 3 cards after double outburst, not missing a land drop, evoking a fury. At some point, you got to be like, back up. Whoa. Opponent with the no attack. I'm going to need a decent turn here so I can start flipping this around. Now they're attacking. Why are they attacking now? My gut says hard cast Fury. I fetch shock, block, kill a rhino, take 4. They hard cast a Fury to try to kill the shadow. And I am okay with how that plays out, right? Block. Fetch shock. Take 4, kill a rhino. force negation as well. All right. So now do I want to drown, counter this? Rhino dies. Shadow sticks around. Drawing into that, fine. Hit you with a shadow. Add Gigantha. And we'll go ahead and fatal push this run. Okay, so you have another force negation. They are not alive anymore. Game 2 against some Rhinos, you say? Too much to board in and out. Luster Storm for the Cascade spells, or for the Footfalls. Mystical Dispute just kind of help fight over force negations to fairies, anything like that. EE to try to clean up Rhinos after they resolve. Got some stuff that probably isn't going to be able to kill a Rhino. And Ragavan's a little meh on the draw. Got like iteration or something slow. See how this goes. Hopefully I draw the second land pretty quickly, but I am on the draw with the bauble. Got Ragavan and Spell Pierce, and he's a nice cleanup play. I'm gonna go ahead and play this bauble because I really want to find second land. Boo. Boo. Fury, Pitch, Fury. Okay. Now we're going to hit the second land. Feel it. All right. I was going to say I wouldn't complain about second and third, but can't get greedy now. Magus of the Moon. I kept in any interaction for Magus of the Moon. I probably would have just left it, but main phasing it. Let's try to hit land drops. So I know Stomping Ground. Yeah, just Stomping Ground, unknown. Pretty good unknown. Alright, let's start finding like some drowning locks. All these maguses. Arn unknown. Tell me you did not top deck a Fury. Alright. A little bit better with the Drowning Lock in hand. A-okay. Please start attacking. One of these out of the way. Are we making fun of Ledger, or my hatred of Ledger Shredder, or the fact that it's like the only threat we can find, apparently? Both are applicable. Three turns if I attack with both. So I'm winning the race if I attack with both. Probably enough of a reason. I don't miss casting the card, I'll just put it that way. Makes two of us. 3 months, and my disdain for Ledger Shredder has not exactly been mitigated. Old Shardless Agent. They're all in on this like Blood Moon plan. Get rid of you because all I want is to be able to double spell next turn and get these shredders online. Uh, is there any way I can do this to guarantee a kill? I guess I ditch Croxa here. Ditch Croxa, go to my turn, start with escaping Croxa. If they. So I think the play was ditch Croxa. Both my shredders become 3/5s. Go to my turn. It's like let the footfalls resolve. Go to my turn. Uh, fetch up a basic swamp. Go down to 5. Fetch and shock off my other land. Go down to 2. Escape the Croxa. And if they have a spell, then I get to drown in the lock. And as long as my next 2 cards aren't lands, or no, it doesn't matter. If they have a spell, they take 3 off Croxa and they're dead in the air. I can counter whatever it is with drown in the lock. If they don't have a spell, they take 3 off Croxa and they die to the Ledger Shredders, and I never have to worry about having to grow. So yes, if I just let the Shardless Agent and the cascading or the crashing footfalls resolve there, I can guarantee a kill by doing nothing and going to my turn. Those are lines that like I always want to look at because the obvious play is always like, hey, my opponent's casting a cascade spell here. I've got a counter spell. Let me just counter it. But when there's an option there for a guarantee kill, couldn't you have discarded Thoughtseize and cast Croxa twice next turn and for sure dead? Um, they were they at 10? No, they were at 8. Yes. Yeah, you could have. Because even if they had a removal spell for a shredder, they'd still be taking 6. Plus the other shredders, at least 3. Yeah, that would have been fine. Is there anything? Went to your turn, cast the shredder or cast the Croxa. Yeah, would have been fine. Let's see. Philia, I don't know what it is about the card and the play patterns too. I guess I have a lot of instances where I looted away gas with Shredder and regretted discarding it later. That's been like my biggest issue with Shredder is the number of times that like I've had a Shredder early and I've been having to discard like iterations and drown in the locks and like shadows and stuff. that I don't want to discard, but like I have to because it's either that or like discard my next land drop or something like that. And I'm sitting there like stuck on two lands with a bunch of shredders. Maybe a frustrating card like the decision tree was difficult and not rewarding for me personally. Kind of the opposite of how I felt casting Thoughtseize, where I feel super rewarded by decisions and find the decision making satisfying. I would I'd be inclined to agree. Like for me, the highest decision making feeling when it comes to shadow, like shadow archetypes in general, is usually when I'm able to like play around a bunch of removal spells or something, like navigate through a complicated removal situation. And Ledger Shredder doesn't really like do anything for me in those situations. Like, it doesn't help me in those situations. And yeah. But either way, deck felt fine. Like, we 3-2'd again, which I'm not ever going to like complain about a 60% win rate. But at the same time, like, my disdain for modern is still there because I feel like I've just been playing the exact same like 10 matchups for the last 7 months and nothing has changed. Like every league, it's all right, here's creativity, here's scam, here's rhinos, living end, Murktide, Hammer Time, in some combination. And like maybe every now and then you fight something different, but just like all the decks that have been the same for the last 7 months still have like the same basic core plan. Scam and creativity are rather new to an extent. Like scam has been around for a minute in different variations. Like it had those early Orzhov scam days, and then it went to like more black red mid range, and then went back to like the heavy scam aspect. Uh, creativity as well has been around for a while, but before it was just like, oh, I'm gonna creativity into Velomachus. All right, that's kind of different. But then as soon as Archon got printed, it all homogenized into I'm going to creativity into Archon. And like there's those people that'll play creativity into a Primeval Titan, and Godspeed to them for trying to hold some sanity in the world. But plus Dogfish was jamming scam for a long time before it was all over top 8 results, so less new for us. That's very true as well. Um let me see if I can find Dogfish's scam results. Merfolk. I think this is just like actual mid-range Rankle Spear. But yeah, I mean like this is mostly actual mid-range, but most of the core of the deck hasn't changed that much. Like you're still a Ragavan, Dalthy, Kroxa deck. Um, you just have like the scam package in now, and this is January or November of 2021.